All right, Bob, it's been over 10 years since your experience at S4.
That's right.
What has changed in the covert technology realm that you know of? Has there been any advancement?
Actually, I really don't know. There's certainly been obvious leaps forward, but whether or not it was related to alien technology or just homebrew advanced technology, remains to be seen, and we may never know. But I personally don't know of any dramatic changes over the past decade.
Do you have any contact with former colleagues from that project, from that era?
No, originally the plan was for me to be the first one to come out, and everyone was supposed to follow along. That didn't work out like that. As soon as everyone saw the fallout from what had happened to me, then really everybody else stopped, came to an end, and that was about it.
To your knowledge, is that particular back engineering project still in existence?
I would find it hard to believe that that project would have ended because of all the media. I think it would have been relocated. And even at that, I would question it. The facility is relatively large, it's pretty involved, and it's a large, expensive location in a remote area. Where else in the United States are you going to move something like that to? The only other place really would be in the South Pacific, where we used to do all the old atomic testing and, used to do the majority of our secret stuff, like Kwajalein Island, places like that, where we developed, early missiles and things like that. That's perfect for security because you're surrounded by the Pacific Ocean. You don't have to worry about looky-loos from America or foreign countries. So it's terribly expensive to support places like that because of shuttling supplies back and forth and personnel, so on and so forth. But for something along these lines, it might have been worth it. So I think if it is continuing, I doubt it's at the same place it was before. I doubt it's at S4. If it moved, I would be inclined to say it would have gone out to one of the test islands that still remain.
Let's talk a little bit about the compartmentalization and how a project like that is run. You were only allowed a little window on a project dealing with one specific vehicle. How did they regulate how people were allowed access to the project as a whole?
That's done not only in this project, but really in every top secret project, and anyone that's worked in that'll be familiar to them. Compartmentalization is essentially to prevent any one person from knowing the entire plan, the entire project. What they did in this one in particular was they worked on a buddy system. As people worked in teams. For instance, there was a metallurgy team, a team that dealt with the power and propulsion of the craft. There were teams that dealt with a variety of different things, and to my knowledge, there were at least 12 of those teams. 2 people are assigned to each one of those slices of pie, more or less, to each group. They communicate between themselves. This is where they're supposed to come up with independent ideas and spontaneous thoughts by, just talking between themselves. Now, it's not very efficient because free discussion is what propels science forward. And without free discussion, you get nowhere. And the military always has a tough balancing act of security and free discussion. And they always lean towards the security aspect, which always stops them from progressing forward and always ruins everything that's being done. And that was the case here again. They leaned so much toward the security side, they squelched free discussion so much. 2 guys can only come up with so many ideas. You take a room full of scientists or an entire university to handle a single problem, and things get done a lot faster, which also explains why if they had these crafts for 30 or 40 years, the amount of progress they made is absurd. It really wasn't done, and it's because of the overwhelming security.
Did they ever point blank tell you that this was an extraterrestrial craft?
Absolutely. It was made very clear. Initially, it was not. And for whatever reason, I have no idea why that was. But they did make it blatantly clear eventually.
Was there any possibility in your mind that the craft could have been of terrestrial origin and that you were being fed a line of baloney about its possible extraterrestrial?
Initially, that's what I thought when I first saw it. In fact, viewing the craft, when I saw it for the first time, and it had a little American flag stuck on the side of it by where the door or hatch used to be. And I thought, well, boy, that explains all the ridiculous flying saucer sightings. It's just been an advanced aircraft, and it looks like a flying saucer, and, that ends that discussion. Until I realized the project was a back engineering project, and the whole aim of all the groups was to find out how we can duplicate this with earthly materials. The technology involved, the materials used, virtually everything relating to that craft were well beyond our current level of technology and remain so today. There is no question that they are of extraterrestrial origin.
What's the first thing that stuck out in your mind that made it sharp and clear that this was very unusual?
A gravity propulsion system.
When you saw that in operation?
Yeah, seeing that in operation, no ifs, ands, or buts. Nothing like that exists on Earth, period.
Did you experience personal harassment when you came forward?
Personally, myself, yes. My wife at the time and friends also. Virtually all of my friends were audited by the IRS simultaneously at one time. That's typically how they do it. They'll work down your support group, friends around you. My wife was harassed, so were close friends. I mean, just about everybody was, but it was certainly not a fun time.
How long did that carry on in your life? We're talking a decade later now.
Yeah,
So
well,
for how many years?
that lasted for about a year after all the hoopla was over, so probably from about December of '88, probably into the early 90s, probably about 90, 91.
Threats to your life? Attempts on your life?
No, very early on, only when the project first began, and when everything had reached the news, all that high-end terrorist stuff came to an abrupt end.
So you've been able to lead a more or less normal personal life ever since?
Yeah, I don't follow ufology. I don't keep up on current technology involving that. I'm not the least bit interested in it at this point. And really, have gone back to a normal life. If you're trying to make a living as a consultant in the field of science, you can't be known as the UFO guy. It does not help you. It hurts you. So my aim is essentially to divorce that from me. So I've been fairly successful at it.
Looking at what you know of advanced propulsion systems, the physics, the state-of-the-art, if this had been brought into the open, say 50 years ago, 53 years ago at the time of Roswell, if the system of compartmentalization need to know had not been employed to suppress this technology, where would we be today with advanced propulsion?
We could conceivably be extremely far ahead, but you're guessing. Certainly, if you remove the security aspect, the compartmentalization altogether, immediately that's going to catapult you forward. But how far, who knows? Maybe with free discussion, with everyone working toward a common goal and actually producing something, we could have gotten somewhere. But it's also quite possible, even with all that, we wouldn't be able to duplicate the materials. We wouldn't be able to figure out the advanced systems and subsystems that are incorporated within the craft, and we may not even be able to understand the basic concepts of what's going on. So, yeah, it certainly gives you a better edge, but it doesn't guarantee any progress.
How far ahead was this particular craft? 100 years, 1,000 years ahead of us?
I don't think it was that far ahead, and that's a tough question, because how can you say what happens in 100 years? great discoveries are almost always made by accident. You can't say, well, in 50 years, we'll have field propulsion. In 75 years. Things don't occur at regular intervals like that. They just happen. But on a relative basis, I guess, I don't think it's thousands of years ahead. I've even heard people say it's 1 billion years ahead of us. And there's nothing 1 billion years ahead of us. It's to me, it looked like, if I was going to give it just a general guess, it would be more along the lines of 100 years in advance of what we're dealing with. And using my reference as wagon trains and things of that sort in that time frame to modern times. So if that's the reference there, I'm using the same one to put that forward.
Harkening back to what you said earlier, you said that you were sort of set up to be the first one to come forward, and your colleagues were to follow. Were you informed of that openly?
That was my decision.
That was your decision?
Yeah, that was my plan. The person following after me was Barry Castillo, I think was how you pronounced his last name.
I remember that name.
But yeah, that was my plan. He was supposed to follow, and nobody came out after me. But that's just the way things go. We're out of time.
That's fine. We did it.
Great.
Break a leg.